That's cool, uncle. Nah, I'm kidding. Nobody knows who the hell I am. But I'm Goji Boy, and as you read in the title, or I'm sure you did, maybe you just saw the picture that I put up. That's called a thumbnail. But today is gonna be the first video in a series of videos, okay, that will teach you the fundamentals. All right, the first thing you do when you reach the internet. Oh yeah, welcome. This is basically a tutorial on how to use the internet, okay? How to pick your community, and sooner or later, in future episodes, I will teach you the lingo, I will teach you the basics, I will teach you how to make friends on the internet, like actual friends, and eventually I'll teach you some like important tips and tricks to, you know, being part of the communities that you choose to be a part of. Okay, so basically the first thing you want to do, and the first thing most people do when they come to the internet, they choose their community. I joined a toxic community when I first came over. I started on Instagram. It's a good starter website, but then as you get more mature in internet culture, then I suggest that you move on to something like Reddit or maybe Tumblr. I don't know, but yeah, so first thing you want to do is you want to pick your community, okay? Your community is like the one website or the one section of the website that you choose to live on, choose to inhabit, and it's basically the people that you surround yourself with, at least in the beginning. So what I usually suggest, you got to start somewhere friendly, open, and broad. Now, to pick your community, right? Friendly, open, and broad. Okay, friendly. Starting off somewhere toxic can get you into more trouble later on. It's like having a kid with shitty parents. The kid doesn't know what is or isn't acceptable. That's what I wrote down. So basically, when you start with a toxic community, you learn toxic mindset and you learn toxic vocabulary. So when you move from a toxic community over to a friendlier community and you bring your toxic mindset with you, then you bring that friendly community down. And sometimes being toxic on a toxic community can actually be a bit more toxic than you should. So you start out on a friendly community and you work your way up to toxicity, okay? And starting off, I would suggest like maybe somewhere huge, like r/teenagers or r/pets or videos or something. Somewhere that beginners are actually, you know what, Instagram, the entire thing. Yeah, I would say start out on Instagram, because Instagram is where a lot of people that aren't very well versed in internet culture go to. And I would say go for the lighthearted, like follow hashtags or follow places that use actual, like, complete English. Next, open. Being able to talk to anyone you want helps you learn social skills. Going into an open community is basically going into a community that talks a lot, has discussions about things that are lighthearted or anything like that. Going into an open community early on helps you learn things. It helps you learn how people talk. It helps you learn how people treat each other. It helps you learn the culture simply through osmosis. A community that's broad. If it's too specific, you're going to learn the wrong lingo. You're not going to know how to talk to people on a broader scale. That's why, I mean, go to communities that are huge. Don't go to, like, specific communities, because specific communities have their own little things, their own little quirks, their own little traditions. And actually, when you go to a broader community, the broader community usually has traditions and sayings that apply to the rest of the internet landscape. Now for some vocabulary, okay? Toxicity, or being toxic, is just being counterculture, basically. Let's start off with some basic tips. Number one, when you're starting out, I suggest that what you do is you stick around your community, but you only watch. Do not post, do not comment. Just simply upvote, vote, or whatever that community does. just watch things go down. Like, watch arguments, view them, try to understand what's going on. Like, I'd say give it a good week or two, just analyzing what's going down, and like just try to understand how people talk, how people treat each other, what's okay and what isn't, what's taboo, and what's supported by the rest of the community. And then after those 2 weeks, you have to learn how to act. All right, you gotta be polite, and you have to be ready for confrontation, because being polite gets you in way less trouble than being, honestly, just being a cunt, okay? If you start out being a cunt, then pretty much the rest of that community, or at least the people you interact with, aren't going to want to stick with you and teach you the basics of the rest of the internet. Because actually, a lot of the stuff that happens on the internet, you can actually pick up on your own, and you'll just get used to it. But when you're beginning off, I would say being polite keeps you out of trouble and helps you understand the slang that people use when you ask simple questions like, hey, I don't know what that means, can you please tell me? Just be polite. But you also have to be ready for confrontation, because early on, everyone meets someone toxic, and when they're toxic, you tend to, when people who aren't very well versed in internet culture find out or come into contact with someone toxic, they'll usually have no clue what to do. But even when they're toxic, you have to be polite, but don't be a white knight. A white knight is someone who defends themselves or defends someone else when they didn't really need defending in the first place. But you also have to know when to walk away. And I'll go into that on the next episode. But what you need to know is that staying quiet when you're just starting out, it helps so much more than commenting the first idea that you get, alright? Oh, and second tip, when you're starting out on the internet, do not show your face. Okay, because when you're new, don't show anything that might be related to you at all.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kinda dumb with her finger and her thumb